Well, it is officially October now. Hard to believe, I know, but that does mean that the footy season, as it was, is over. It was over just a couple of days ago. The entire season is over. We've got through it. We've survived. And now we have to somehow reflect on it. It's not something we want to do, but we feel obliged that we should do it. This is the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour podcast, the October version, the Trade Week version, the Spring Carnival version kicking off. I'm Sergio Paradise, and here is Titus O'Reilly.
That's a melancholy start to the... You upset about the season?
No, I'm just... It's always... Once it's over, you go, oh, well, gee, there's another footy season over, and, you know, what is there to look forward to now?
just family and friends and summer.
And Christmas and summer and, you know, good weather and
well, we've
stuff
got
like
plenty of draft nonsense to talk about.
There is, isn't that? I reckon this is shaping up as the best draft year ever. As far as
the best trade
period ever, put it that way. Yeah.
What? Because everyone's leaving the Gold Coast.
Everyone's moving everywhere. and I just heard something this morning that apparently you may not have heard this.
Yes.
This could be an exclusive for the podcast.
Yeah.
Apparently Tom Lynch wants to go to Richmond.
Oh, I saw that reported today like it was fresh news. It was amazing. Couldn't believe it.
Tom Lynch from the Gold Coast wants to go to the Tigers.
Is there anyone that wants to stay at the Gold Coast? They're on track to have no AFL players by next season.
Stewie Jew might be pulling the boots on again. Don't you? How his skin folds are going. But
well, we should begin by saying a big well done to the West Coast Eagles. It's they've moved. They haven't really acknowledged that in Melbourne, but well done to the Eagles because they were magnificent. It was one of the great grand finals. I thought
game. It was one of those ones you sort of look at it, because Melbourne got tantalisingly close this year, which is something we never do.
Yes.
I was reflecting on what would it have been like if it had been us who'd got there.
Stressful.
And I came to the conclusion that it's better to lose these things by 10 goals than 5 points. It would have been very, very difficult to face. And I felt just a smidgen, I hate to admit this, but a tiny little bit of compassion for Collingwood supporters on Saturday night. So I thought, Jesus, that would have been hard to take.
Well, it was a huge day. I mean, I love grand final day.
Oh, it's the best day of the year.
Easily the best day. And, we had... you had your breakfast that morning.
Yeah,
you always organise a big breakfast.
Yeah, it was a cracker in at the Grand Hyatt.
Not just at your house.
No.
It's not just like you have extra bacon, a bit of sausages.
A bit of toast, fire up the coffee machine. No, did a gig with the former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull along with his good friend Lawrence Mooney. And if you were wondering, the loss of the Prime Ministership had an adverse effect on Malcolm Turnbull. Rest assured, his character analysis of some of the major players in Canberra is as strong and as brutal as it ever was.
And then who else did you have performing at that?
Dave O'Neill and our mate Adam Rosenbach, all who killed. It was
all friends of the show.
All friends.
That's a good lineup to pull together on grand final.
It was a cracking morning, I've got to say.
Yeah,
absolutely cracking morning, and it just fired it up. And I ended up having the house to myself Saturday afternoon.
Yeah.
My youngest went off with his friends to go to the Collingwood thing at outside Amy Park.
All right.
And the others went off to a mate's place. So I sat there. So it gave me, Saturday afternoon, I was able to indulge two of the things I enjoy most, which is watching footy and drinking alone.
So you watched the whole thing by yourself?
The whole thing by myself. I've never done that before, ever.
Yeah, I was about to say, because you would have been able to go somewhere if you wanted to.
Yeah, but I didn't want to.
You're quite happy. Gee, this is an insight into your future.
Once I had the option of watching it on my own, it was great because I had music cranked up for a fair while, and then as soon as they said come back after the break with the Black Eyed Peas, I had to turn that down and listen to them.
Well, what did you think? Let's get to the pre-game entertainment. Yeah. What did you think of the Black Eyed Peas?
The Black Eyed Peas, well, I put out a tweet afterwards saying, I don't want to say I told you so, but...
because you predicted they'd be one of the worst ever.
I predicted they'll probably be worse than Meatloaf.
Did you think they were?
I probably couldn't say they weren't as bad as Meatloaf. I mean, but you've got a band with three vocalists, none of whom can really sing, so that's never going to help. You know, who have you got? You've got Will I Am, you've got Taboo, and you've got the third bloke whose name is clutch of random letters and full stops. That's his name.
They're
I
a
think.
band just built for your sensibilities.
Yeah, and they've come out and they've done a medley of all their hit, and the funny thing was they were like shortened versions of 4 of their sort of biggest songs, and their only decent song is "I've Got a Feeling."
Yeah,
and they did like the real short version of that at the end.
See, I saw someone say something online, and I would credit it, except I read it, and then I tried to find it the other day, but it's a cracker of a tweet where someone said, much like Manchester United, no good without Fergie.
Yeah, exactly. And then I didn't even notice on the telecast, but until I saw it in the paper afterwards, that our mate Will I Am ... was checking his phone throughout the...
Yeah, I saw that, and I can tell you, as being at the ground, he wasn't the only one checking his phone during that performance, because looking around, there were a lot of people...
And he came out after and said, "Oh, look, I was just streaming it worldwide." And I'm thinking, no.
Well,
when I started checking his phone, I'm thinking, he's saying, I wonder what Titus thinks.
Is that what you think he was checking?
That's what he was checking.
Well, I thought it was like... I thought it fell a bit into the, like, it wasn't great, but it wasn't bad enough to be remembered.
No.
It's a bit like Sting's performance a few years ago, which was fine. No one's
Brian
ever
Adams, these guys, Tom Jones.
You're never going to look back and go,
that was,
you remember that, you know? Like
you see, people still look back on the Killers last year and go, the Killers were great.
Yeah, because they were so good, and then you have the...
Everyone up to then is just, they're fine. They've done their couple of good songs, and that's about it.
See, when the Killers performed at the ground, it felt like a real party in the ground. Like, it felt like everyone was suddenly like at a Killers concert. Everyone was really into it. The Black Eyed Peas was like, oh yeah, the Black Eyed Peas are on. When Jimmy Barnes came on, there was at least a bit more singing along, and you got the sense people were a bit more...
Was he louder at the ground than the Black Eyed Peas?
I think so, but I mean the sound was okay at the ground. I heard there was some problem with the Black Eyed Peas on the television coverage, but you
couldn't really tell.
You couldn't tell from their normal sound they made.
You know.
So that was all fine. Actually, you know what got the biggest reaction? It was Mike Brady.
He always does.
Which that just got... Everyone was singing along and really into it. It was really good. So
I mean, you think about the Black Eyed Peas. I mean, like Barnesy, you know what you're going to get with Barnesy, and you know he picked those 2 songs. He could have done another 6 or 8 different ones, and he still would have killed.
Yeah.
But the Black Eyed Peas, you don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars they paid them. But my question is, who actually signed off on the Black Eyed Peas and have said, yeah, we do need them. We do need some D-list American act. You know, they certainly don't. They could have got away. If Barnesy had done one more song and then gone straight to Mike Brady, nobody would have said, geez, I tell you what, we could have done with a bit of Black Eyed Peas action, you know.
Well, I think the problem the AFL has is they kind of feel like they need to get a name.
Yeah.
They feel that need, and then they go out and they have nowhere near the money that, you know, the Super Bowl, or I don't think the Super Bowl even pay. They just offer such a big audience, but it's not that much money. So you're not going to get people who are at the peak of their career.
No,
can't go.
Although I don't know if you saw on the front bar on Thursday night, Gillen suggested that he was mighty close to getting the Foo Fighters. Yeah. Now I would have thought if they'd got the Foo Fighters, that would have been your Killers Part 2. They would have killed. And B, because Dave Grohl is such a great personality and media performer, they would have got their money's worth just for the rest of the week with Dave Grohl. But if they couldn't get the Foo Fighters, your Black Eyed Peas is a pretty shabby replacement.
Well, the NRL had Gang of Youths. Did you see them perform?
I saw that.
I thought they were good.
Yeah, I quite like them.
A few people gave them.
I was a bit surprised at the amount of people online who are going, who are the Gang of Youths? I mean, I'll be the first to say I'm not right up with some of the stuff that the young folk are listening to these days, but I reckon they're a pretty good band.
Well, I also thought they at least put on a show, and I also thought...
It makes a difference doing it at night too.
Yeah, but I also thought at least the NRL, to their credit, because they got an Australian band that not everyone has necessarily heard of, but are up and coming and have had a lot of critical success. Yeah. So you go, well, good on them for giving a platform to that, I mean, they were no Timo-Matic, which is still, to me, the peak of all sports entertainment.
Yeah, and Timo-Matic, of course, proved that he's no Macklemore from last year either.
Well, what about still one of the better ones was when Slash did his few bars of Sweet Child of Mine before just then going off and doing some new stuff.
Yeah, just doing a bit of noodling like you'd hear a 17-year-old doing a guitar shop,
Paul Spain said, on a scale of Meatloaf to the Killers, where do the Black Eyed Peas rate? I put them pretty much in the middle. I thought they were just pretty mediocre. You might be a bit below the
marginally
average.
Better than Meatloaf, I'd have said.
You thought they were pretty rubbish?
Yeah. Meatloaf's performance and his vocal performance was atrocious, but he had 3 or 4 at least decent songs that he could butcher. Whereas the Black Eyed Peas were sort of the opposite.
Your preferences there.
The Black Eyed Peas, their performance probably was fine. But it's just their material.
Yeah, well, I thought they were just fine. I thought they were they didn't embarrass themselves, but they were sort of like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
I certainly appreciate Jimmy Barnes managing to stay off electronic devices while performing. And he had Diesel with him out there.
And he can play a guitar a bit.
So the grand final, so it was amazing the pre-season, the pre-game entertainment was sort of fun, and it was a much nicer day because it was meant to be freezing. But
it was supposed to be cold and filthy,
nice.
But it was,
So then we get to the game, and first Collingwood's banner rips.
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Well, it was, I felt like those guys go to all that trouble.
Yeah.
And then it just rips. And they had a huge one. Perth, obviously, they probably had to travel with it, but Perth was about half the size. Collingwood had done a huge, massive banner, way bigger than a normal banner.
Yeah.
And then they said they were a bit rushed by the MCC. They didn't get the normal time they have to put it up and get it ready. So so once it ripped, and you could really tell it wasn't going to work.
Oh, it was never going to work.
And I knew it was game over at that point.
Yeah. Oh, there was a lot of people. As soon as that happened, it's omen.
There was panic amongst, it was kind of interesting to watch the crowd react to it because the crowd were like, there was a lot of people who were not thrilled about it.
And even when Nathan Buckley's come out and he's consoled the head of the Collingwood cheer squad.
How much consoling did Buckley have to do? He had to console the runner. He had to console the it's like no one's caring about his feelings. He's just running around he's sort of like the camp counsellor.
Yeah, I felt afterwards. I thought he didn't even have enough time to coach his team. He was too he was too busy looking after all the side.
When he went over and consoled the Black Eyed Peas, I thought that was a bit of a stretch. So that was pretty great. That was pretty bad. Sorry, when the banner went, that was sort of a moment where everyone just went, "Oh no!"
Jeez, they came out of the blocks though.
And then I did a tweet as a joke. I said because Colin came out and kicked the first 5.
Yeah.
And so I just made a joke and said, two things have fallen apart today: West Coast and the banner.
Yeah.
I did it knowing that.
Full well.
Well, this is the difference between analysis and a joke.
Yeah.
A joke's a point in time.
Yeah.
So you make a joke to get a laugh, and if it works in the context of that time, it works. So then I had all these people going, "This hasn't aged well." And I'm like, it's a joke. It's not like I'm not Robert Walls.
We sort of knew that.
Yeah.
For the next 3 quarters, they probably will not
that's
remain
right. And I knew I had to
goalless,
do it quickly or it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
So that always amuses me, but I couldn't believe it was the West Coast supporters. There's a big block of West Coast supporters not far from where I was sitting, and they were just it was like Melbourne in the first quarter the week before. It looked like it was going to be a shellacking.
Yeah.
The Eagles looked all over the shop, and
they did.
It looked like 2015 again, and they were just red hot. And when Varco kicked that first goal after the year he's had, people were just absolutely going nuts. And then it just kept happening. But then it seemed the Eagles, they just...
It was the classic, they worked their way back into it. They didn't come out in the second quarter and go bang, bang, bang. They just gradually started to catch up.
And they were back by the end of the first half, they were down by about 2 goals.
They were playing better and gradually getting back there. And by halftime, you knew there was it was game on.
That's right, you knew. And it was interesting because it was the old adage, and everyone in the stadium kept saying this. You'd listen to other people talking, you can hear people talking around you, and everyone was saying, the tall guys don't get any shorter.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone in the stadium was saying that.
Isn't that a beauty? That's been going around.
But it was kind of one of the
100
rare
years.
matches where I was going, well, this is actually true, because the Eagles started to really dominate in the air.
Yeah.
Mason Cox, who didn't touch the ball in the first half, started getting a fair bit of it in the second too. So, but you did know it wasn't quite noticeable. Both the Eagles midfield started to get on board, but there were just a lot of, and this is what Adelaide failed to do the year before against Richmond.
Yeah.
There were key marks to be made, pack marks often. The Eagles got them.
Yeah.
And it made a huge
and
difference
Jack
to the
Darling,
result.
who could not get near it in the first half. I was watching him fairly closely. He was getting to the right spots, but it was bouncing out of his hands, or he was coming in on the wrong angle, or he just misjudged his run.
Yeah.
But as soon as he got that together the second half, he was a target there. And you forget
And
how
Kennedy
big a
wasn't
unit
great
he
in
is.
the first half, but got better as it went on.
Kennedy was okay, but he wasn't taking over.
Yeah.
But as soon as those blokes started clunking them, they were back in the game.
It was amazing there to just feel the rising tension, because it went from being like, oh, this is looks like a blowout to starting to get, and then every time you thought the Collingwood had done here, they would get a goal. It was quite.
Well, that started the last quarter when they kicked two in the opening,
that was like
80
this
seconds.
twist, because you thought Collingwood had done after the third quarter, and West Coast going to run over the top, and then those two, you suddenly thought, can West Coast get back? It's just not their day, you know. Even though all the signs pointed to they were all
That's
over
exactly what I thought. I said to myself at home,
lonely self.
This is not going to be West Coast Day, because they've fought their way back to this point.
And they're even controlling large parts of it, but
then bang, in 30 seconds, Collingwood kicked the opening 2 goals the last quarter. I thought, it's going to be the Maggies' day today.
Yeah, you're deflated at that point if you're the Eagles, you think. But they just kept coming. They kept playing the way.
And then a lot of Collingwood blokes went missing in the last quarter too.
Well, it looked to me at the ground that the Collingwood were out on their feet.
Yeah.
They'd had that enormous start, and then the Eagles they'd just been clinging on. It was a bit like an old pro boxer who just knows they've got nothing left in the tank and are just holding on and trying to be as defensive as possible. And looking around the ground, you could just see Eagles had players free, and and Collingwood were just flooding back, and barely. There were whole moments, whole periods of that fourth and a lot of the third too, where the Eagles were just kept going forward into their 50. Collingwood kept clearing it, but it would just come straight back in, and then it seemed like they were going to be able to hold on long enough though. That was the one weird thing, is even though it was like the Eagles just couldn't land that knockout blow, and you kept getting a sense as the time ticked down, they're not going to get it done. Collingwood actually going to pull this off.
Yeah, that's how I kept feeling the whole last quarter. Even when they got in front, when she'd kicked the goal, I thought, you know what, there's still a minute and a half to go here. Collingwood will win this. I reckon they'll pinch one, and the joint will go nuts. Stevenson will kick one, or DeGale.
Well, even when Darling dropped that one in,
Darling dropped the World
mark
Cup
in the goal square, and it suddenly looked like the Collingwood were going to get another go, but it didn't. So that was amazing. The whole thing was just riding the wave of it there was kind of amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Tears from the Collingwood supporters afterwards.
Yeah, there were lots of tears.
Plenty of tears.
There was one of the amazing things is behind me there were these 2 kids. One was 8, one was about 5 roughly. Yeah. And I don't know what the dynamics were, whether they were brothers or whether they were cousins or family friends or something, because one bat was the older one was in a Collingwood jumper and the other one was a West Coast jumper. So I don't even know if they were the same family. But that 8-year-old, the Collingwood supporter, was in just inconsolable tears. Yeah. And the West Coast supporter, who was 5, had his arm around him, comforting him. Oh. And these are these young kids, and I thought, I'd take a photo of that, but people frown on you taking pictures of kids you don't know. They sort of look at you a bit funny. So, but it was such a nice moment. But I'm always surprised. I know people will be able to point. There were probably idiots around the ground and all that sort of stuff. But around most of what I saw was people being pretty.
I must admit,
pretty good, considering what had just happened.
Didn't go to this game, but every grand final I've been to, and I've been to plenty of them in recent years. Yeah, I don't reckon I've ever really seen any real dramas. And there's even been, I don't know if this happened on Saturday, but there's even been from the losing side.
Yeah.
congratulations to the winners.
Well, there was a bit of that too, and I've seen that at once too. And I think there's a line where real footy fans, like most people, kind of know when. Aside just lost the grand final is not the time to really
put the boots in.
There's a time,
and it's a game of
round
footy.
2.
That's
fine.
There's a winner, there's a loser, and and
but football is the winner.
Football was the winner, and generally you can safely say the better team wins on the day. Although there's a few.
Well, we might get to that in a second.
Let's get to that
but first, Paul Bidmead wrote in, Tex Walker was wildly criticised for his short grand final speech last year. Will Scott Pendlebury's 10-second speech be labelled heroic by the Victorian media, or will his bravery be rewarded with an Order of Australian medal? See, to me, I thought the criticism of Tex and like, if you've just lost the grand final, I do not expect you to do anything but the bare minimum.
Yeah.
Get up, say well done to the premiers, well done to our guys, best luck next year. Go sit down.
There's nothing else that you can.
What are you going to do? Do a 40-minute speech, and it's not the. You've just been crushed. So
it's not the time.
Why would we expect them to be particularly?
It's all about the winners anyway.
That's right. And also, it's like arguably for a lot of those people, it's the worst moment of their lives.
Yeah.
Maybe not, but it's right. Like, it's one of the worst and one of the most emotional. And suddenly people are going, oh, well, where was it? What about a song and a bit of a joke? what about some, make us laugh?
Well, do you remember
what are you expecting?
I can't remember when they stopped doing it, but do you remember when they used to give out medallions to the losing team?
Yeah, that was always brutal.
What year it was, I can't remember, but when Collingwood got beaten, well, I think Nathan Buckley just threw his out into the middle of the MCG.
Yeah.
And folklore has it that somebody who works for the AFL picked it up and still has it pride of place in their bar at home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Nathan Buckley's losing
medal.
And they approached Bucks and he said, mate, you can keep it.
I couldn't care less. So I just don't think... I wouldn't care if they didn't do a speech,
Yeah.
It wouldn't bother me.
No.
John Kovich wrote in, now that the West Coast home ground and training facilities have similar dimensions to the MCG, do you think the AFL should change the size of the G to nullify the Eagles' unfair advantage?
Now, that's not a bad idea.
See,
But they're going to do that because that was one thing I noticed about that. That game on Saturday would have been far better with an 18-metre goal square. I think that was
what I found
obvious.
amazing is, remember a couple of weeks ago when it looked like instead of Melbourne, Collingwood might end up having to go to West Coast for the prelim?
Yeah.
And Eddie went Travis Old.
Yeah.
And absolutely went him and saying, so we might have to, play. When it suddenly turned out that didn't emerge for them.
Nah.
And then it turns out that for the grand final, West Coast, who finished higher than Collingwood, get a day's less rest and have to travel and play the grand final at Collingwood's home ground.
Yeah.
I heard radio silence.
There wasn't much happening going on there.
He didn't mention that at all. There was no fury at that, This is the thing. If you're going to be a media person, you can't, be so one-eyed.
Oh, really?
But it's so blatant. Then how do, Eagles, I'm surprised the Eagles didn't complain more about that,
Yeah, I think they just did what professional outfits do and just say, well, let's get on with it.
Yeah,
we've got a game to play this week, so let's just play.
Dean Garrow wrote, has the Melbourne AFL media ever changed the subject to the trade period faster than that? I don't think so. It was pretty amazing. But Eagles fans, I thought, also got some real comedic gold out of this with Robert Walls. He predicted them to win the wooden spoon this year.
Did he really? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And then he came out and said, he was asked, are you embarrassed about, that sort of thing? And who do you think's going to win? He goes, well, it doesn't matter. They're not going to win the premiership. Collingwood will.
Yeah. He's not hiding to nothing, old Wolsey. And isn't he about to be
Well, that's the
rehired?
other thing. He's also, Carlton now giving him apparently he's quit media things, which is good news for all of us. I can't stand Rawls media stuff.
No. He's always been, to me, or appeared to me, I mean, I don't know him, but he's always appeared to me, he's just one of these old blokes who just doesn't like the game or anyone involved in it.
And but also, it's, just grumpy beyond belief.
Yeah, it's
Just the grumpiness. Like, there's plenty of people in football who are not worth liking, right? But, make fun of them. Don't, like... But he just was always like, it was like he was doing it all against his will.
Yeah, exactly. And
the best time was when he went off to France for ages, remember?
Yeah, or he did. He retired after his wife passed away.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, that'll do, mate. I'm going to move to France for a while.
Yeah.
But he's come back and he's probably, still got nothing positive to say.
Velvet Watermelon wrote, has Robert Walls ever, under any circumstances, just once laughed in his entire life?
It's a fair question, Velvet.
I don't know. It's the jury's out, let's just say. There's no evidence. The Bargeman said, will Carlton's hiring of Robert Walls to assist their coaches force the AFL to investigate a tanking probe?
It's early days, Bargeman, but again, it's possible. How's Brendan Bolton going to be with Wolsey looking over his shoulder the whole time?
Like he's not stressed enough.
Yeah.
Like it's not tough enough around there. Boone wrote in, is Carlton choosing Robert Walls when Collective Mind was available the best or worst decision they've made in years?
Wolsey's the sort of bloke, if you want some sour milk, you just put normal milk in a glass and get Wolsey to stare at it for a while.
I don't know. If you're a Carlton fan, you're sort of thinking, we've suffered enough. Really, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Collingwood, just on circling back to the,
back to the grand final.
Grand final, and a Collingwood fan started a petition to reverse the result of Saturday's grand final.
Now here's something I heard on the car radio on the way here to Studio Titus this morning.
Yeah.
They've already got over 4,500 signatures on this petition.
So there was a bunch of talk around this, and I saw Lee Matthews came out and said when Dom Sheed took that mark, Rioli blocked Maynard
run at it.
Yeah, run at it, and they were all like, well, he should have never marked it and kicked the goal, right? So, and then this Pies fan, Rod Craven, has started a change.org petition to review the umpiring that cost Collingwood the premiership and to reverse the result. He then went through about 3 or 4 examples of free kicks they should have got. Yeah. He then wrote the following statement to accompany the petition. And I'll read it out because it's just worth it.
Yeah.
This petition is being brought to your attention in regard to serious concerns by the football public, especially supporters of the Collingwood Football Club, who believe that certain umpiring decisions in the 2018 AFL Grand Final were either wrongly awarded, were missed entirely, and eventually were what cost the Collingwood Football Club the premiership.
Right.
We, as Collingwood supporters, as well as most of the general public, feel that a grand final should be allowed to be won on merit and not be awarded as the result of poor umpiring and biases towards clubs and particular players held by the governing body. We demand in caps, that the decisions made on Saturday the 29th of September be overhauled and reviewed in their entirety, and that either the result reversed or the game declared a no result and replayed in its entirety at a future date. Failure to act on this will affect it in a vote of no confidence in the AFL administration, the umpiring panel and the competition in general.
Well, Rod, there's a number of points that can be brought up here. A vote of no confidence in the AFL administration. Nobody has any confidence in the AFL administration.
Even the AFL don't have any confidence.
Exactly. So this petition's certainly not going to spell that out. You know what this reminds me of? The Rebel Wilson case. What he's asking for is certainly not going to happen. And Rod, I think you're in danger of being declared a vexatious litigant yourself at this point.
The thing about that I found amazing watching, so being there live watching it, and then I've watched the replay twice.
Have you? Ooh.
Yeah. So, because I've got nothing else to do. So, I thought on the day watching it, and then my subsequent watching it a few times a bit more closely, I kind of... The umpires obviously took a mindset in that game of we're going to let most stuff go.
Yeah.
They did the complete opposite of over-umpiring it, right? They did a reverse Ray Chamberlain.
They put the whistle away.
They put the whistle away for enormous parts of the game, or for pretty much actually the whole game.
Yeah.
There were huge amounts of things where people were caught high that just weren't called.
Yeah.
You know, you had to really take someone's head off, basically. Yeah. There was lots of blocking going on all over the shop. There was there were marks. There were tackles and bumps that would normally be like, you know, huge. And I actually thought the umpires did a fantastic job overall with the game. And we would be killing them if they over umpired. But I thought with this, they took a pretty common sense approach. Now, the result of that were throughout the entire game, there were lots of situations that I thought both Collingwood and Eagles were both hard done by.
Yeah.
Or you could have argued very strongly, like they were holding the ball call, a couple of holding ball calls that I thought the Eagles should have got that would have probably resulted on kicks on goal that they didn't get. Collingwood got away with it.
Yeah.
Vice versa, there were plenty. And you could argue the Maynard, Rioli's block on Maynard had a thing. I thought more interesting, and at the time I thought it, and reviewing it again, I thought it was more interesting when he marked. So forget Rioli blocking Maynard for a second. He then took a big step forward over the mark as if to play on.
He looked like he was playing on.
And then suddenly had a second thought and came back. And I thought that could have been called play on, actually. I thought that was just as much as an argument as...
You could have easily heard the umpire yell advantage.
Yeah, or yell play on. Because I thought I was right. When he kicked the goal, I was directly behind him on this, so I could see. Angle. So I could really see when he did that.
That block,
And the block was, it was possibly there and stuff. I mean, it was, but there was. If we're going to start re-prosecuting grand finals on that, we'd have to go back through. There was about 30 equivalent missed things, non-calls, because that was and it wasn't like the umpires had spent all game calling everything and then suddenly let that one go.
Exactly.
They had spent the whole. It was consistent with how the whole game had been umpired, and also the Eagles were all over Collingwood.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like Eagles got where they got by umpiring free kicks. Yeah. Like the idea that they won. I mean, this is just it's sort of sour grapes, but it also it ignores the way the game was called as a whole. It
ignores the facts that it happened. And that particular block, when you slow it down, you look at it from a certain angle, you can say, okay, that was a block that maybe was there, maybe it was missed by the umpires.
Yeah.
But as you say, if you look, because I've only watched it back once, I haven't watched the game twice, but when you look at it with that context, there are blocks going on, and there are in every single game of AFL footy. Right. There's obvious blocks, there's subtle blocks, there's clever blocks. It's just part of the game.
And then Sheed still had to slot an incredibly difficult goal.
Yeah.
Also, to get to that point, they'd come out of the back half, it had gone, I think... Vardy,
and then Ryan took
that amazing mark, which was underrated because that was an impressive mark, and then got it forward to Sheed. So look, I understand when Collins supporters are upset, but I mean, seriously, it's not like it's
happens a million times a game. But and the other thing, I mean, you could even argue too, if you look at it from another, that Maynard was running back, not looking at the ball. He was running the wrong way.
Well, I don't think he could have necessarily the way. He would have had probably trouble even getting there anyway.
Yeah, exactly. He wouldn't have got there. So.
But I just think this is it is a funny thing, like making out the whole general public feel aggrieved by this.
I think Rod Craven, I think you obviously you're grasping at straws legally.
The only thing part of me hopes this is like he's winding everyone up. Because it's a beautiful piece of writing if it's just actually a wind-up.
What I want to know, I mean, in certain circumstances legally, and with governments and I know with local councils, what have you, if you get a petition of ratepayers or constituents, if you get a certain amount, they have to respond and take it seriously. I doubt whether the AFL,
if the AFL have to respond, they'll just say no.
Yeah, get stuffed.
But I just thought, I really noticed on the day, and I only say this, and this isn't with high side, on the day, a few times I was sitting with a few people, and I said during the day, long before this incident happened, I said, gee, the umpire's letting everything go.
Yeah.
They are letting a lot go. And so that was my sense of the game even before this happened. So you got to look at that whole context, you know. And Eagles supporters could come up.
Goes better than.
I bet you if we asked the Eagles supporters, they could come up with like 10 examples where they were denied obvious free kicks, and so could Collingwood. Like that was the way the game was umpired, and it made it a wonderful, free-flowing, interesting game.
And another example of that, there was on the TV coverage, which you wouldn't have noticed at the ground, because they had sort of that aerial spider cam thing, where they would bring it down, and so it was above the ground. They would look down the field, and it was a fantastic angle. I mean, Channel 7 would cop a fair whack here and there, and rightly so quite often, but I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah.
And there was a few times where they've cut to that, and you could clearly see, and both sides guilty of it, clearly see players running through the protected zone, but they weren't penalised.
They've calmed down the protected zone. Like the last 6 weeks, they've basically gone... The umpires.
We'll forget the protected zone.
Well, it exists, but it exists if you get in the way, not just if you're.
Which is how it should be.
Which is how it should be.
How it always was. If you impede the players' thing, you cop a 50.
Yeah, exactly. Brenton Shaw wrote in, should we have a non-binding postal plebiscite on whether the grand final result should be overturned because of a non-called free kick? This is the defining question of our age.
$122 million will that cost us, Brenton?
Oh, it's totally worth it.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just amazing.
Anyway. They just get that money back off the black-eyed peas. They could pay for the plebiscite.
I did laugh too because, Lee Matthews ran out and said, should have been a free kick, and I'm like, well, go back and watch the whole game. Let's Lee and tell us all the ones they missed them to be accurate. And
you just can't do that in any game. Look, I know emotions run higher in grand finals, and it's more important, blah blah. But you can never, in any game of footy, and you could probably say just about in any sporting event, you cannot pick one incident over a 100-minute game and say, that was the definitive.
It would have to be a massive howler, and it would have to be like against the way the game. To me, the most important thing was the way the game had been umpired.
Yeah, exactly.
And to me, that was completely consistent with how the umpires had been treating the entire game. Unless it was an incredibly blatant, over the top free kick,
or a goal. That was a kick that was given a goal that had clearly gone on the wrong side of the post.
This guy went in on his thing and actually mentioned a few things, which I don't think he was even right on some of the examples he gave. Yeah. So that kind of ruined his argument again. The NRL Grand Final was on as well on Sunday, and it was not much of a game. The Storm looked out of it from early on. And
again, I watched this game Sunday night, and unfortunately, I wasn't on my own. I had to open up my doors to my family again by Sunday. It wasn't this a dull game.
The crowd were booing Billy Slater.
Every time he ran near it. I mean, you can't boo Billy Slater.
In his final game. So it just wasn't much of a game.
No, it wasn't.
So there wasn't a lot to talk about. The Roosters were just all over him.
Yeah, they just killed him from the start of the game. But did you read yesterday that they're going to build statues of Billy Slater and I think Cameron Smith?
Yeah, the government announced that.
Outside Amy Park. Wow.
Well, they're two of the greatest rugby league.
2 weeks ago.
I know, it's getting to the point in Melbourne where if you haven't been made into a bronze statue, you've got to really take a long, hard look at yourself.
Oh, exactly. Or at least have a laneway named after you.
Who would you like to see in a bronze statue?
Oh, Max Gawn. He might have a few years to go. Who else? I mean, there's a statue of Bon Scott from AC/DC in Fremantle.
Yeah,
but there isn't one in Melbourne.
No, there's Timo Matic, obviously, comes to mind straight away.
Shannon Knoll.
I wouldn't mind a Black Eyed Peas statue at your front yard just to irritate you. I've never seen you so irritated. Trade talk's been running hot already, and we're recording this on Tuesday in the middle of the day. So, look, a lot of this might be out of date. So, take it with a grain of salt. One, I do love I do love trade talk and all the nonsense that happens.
I think we say this every year. I'd rather see 23 weeks of trading and 1 week of footy.
You're not into the games that much. It is hilarious, all the stuff. So, apparently Jesse Hogan wants out of Melbourne. And to go back to Freo, which is looking at a multi-team trade involving picks and everything, where it's looking at potentially getting Hogan off to Freo, Lockie Neal to Brisbane, and May eventually May to Melbourne.
Yeah.
I reckon getting May into that back line, if with Tom McDonald's emergence, and then if Melbourne keep developing
Oscar McDonald or
I've gone blank.
Frost.
Not Frost.
Jake Lever, he'll be back next year.
Jake Lever will be back. No, the forward, who have just gone completely blank.
Oh, Wiedemann, Sam Wiedemann,
yeah. They keep developing Wiedemann, who came in those last few games and looked a lot better than he'd been a bit earlier on.
He did. I still wouldn't.
Had not a bad VFL one, but but you look at that and you suddenly go, oh, well, that's putting May into that back line. Yeah, because May was he wasn't that great this year. He was great the year before, but I got the feeling everyone just wants out of Gold Coast. I mean, it is amazing all the players that want out of Gold Coast.
I mean, I as a Melbourne supporter, I'd very happily stick Stephen May in at full back, but I'm very reluctant to say goodbye to Jesse Hogan. You got to everyone forgets before he hurt his foot, his first 6 or 7 games this year, he was clearly Melbourne's best player.
This is the thing. I feel Jesse Hogan is maligned unfairly by some, and I think the stuff he went through, and then he had a few injuries. I mean, the only thing you'd say is he a bit injury prone or something?
Yeah.
But I agree. He's a fantastic player, and look, I can understand a guy like that wanting to go home. I mean, he's been through more than most people, so it's one of the cases where I don't feel like he's just doing it for money or.
Oh yeah, I don't begrudge him going.
And if Melbourne can swing something out of it.
There was also talk yesterday, and I doubt whether this will happen, but to throw another curveball into that multi-club swap thing is maybe getting Gaff to Melbourne.
I've heard Gaff's locked in at North.
Yeah.
Like it's just a done deal.
Yeah.
So, but that's,
So where does this place North? They've got Gaff and Pollock.
Yeah.
And somebody else going there, possibly.
Chad Wingard was linked to them briefly, but it looks like he's going to stay at Port Adelaide.
Nobody paying what he wants.
No, he wants a lot more, but he's apparently told he's want to say. Joe Sayer says, how exciting is it that Terry Wallace is waking from his winter hibernation to provide his expert analysis and opinion as the list manager?
The list manager. He's a good bloke, Terry Wallace, but I still reckon, calling yourself the list manager, it's a bit...
I don't know.
George Costanza calling himself T-Bone.
I still talk to Richmond fans. They're not. They've never forgiven Terry Wallace.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, true. Richmond supporters have never been Terry Wallace fans, but
and Terry Wallace has thrown everyone under the bus at Richmond.
At some point,
it was none of it. It wasn't. He had nothing to do with what happened at Richmond, apparently.
Yeah.
So, listeners' questions. We just got one from Bud Blackwood. That's a cracking name.
Bud Blackwood. He sounds like he should have been in America's Riders' Cup team. Bud Blackwood.
He does. He sounds like someone from a Coen Brothers film.
Yeah, exactly.
Now this shows you for sure.
Put down that banjo, Bud, and get out of here.
It does show you that we have really started to move on from footy season. He's got a cricket question. I don't think we've had one of them in a while. Darcy Short scored 257 off 148 for WA. Which Marsh brother should replace him in the side?
I've never heard of Darcy Short, but he's obviously going nicely. But
it's going to be interesting this year how we're going to go. Because
who are we even playing this year? I don't even know or care.
Yeah, India coming out this year.
Are they? Oh, we'll get flogged.
Well, I am a bit nervous about our chances, and I think the worse we perform, the more the push for Smith and Warner to be rushed back in.
Yeah.
See, I sort of came away from the whole sandpaper stuff thinking Smith Smith will get back in.
Yeah.
Because he's just too good, but also I think if you look at his thing, his big flaw was he didn't stand up to Warner and say we're not doing that and didn't report it and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think he was seen as
nobody begrudged Steve Smith getting back in that side.
Well, I think they were irritated. People were very, they thought he should have done a much better job as captain, and should have been more forceful and all that sort of stuff. But I also think they sort of think, well, he wasn't quite as bad. The report, even what we know, is like Warner's just gets painted like the worst person ever.
Yeah.
The whole thing. But I get a sense now that there's already forces at work in both the media and Cricket Australia to kind of start painting Warner like he's a great guy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be at all surprised.
And, I wouldn't be... And I thought at the time there's no way he'd ever get back in. But now I'm thinking, if we lose a few badly...
I was about to say, if in the first test, if we're suddenly,
flogged...
Or 2 for 15 after the first 5 overs, the calls for bring back Warner will be getting stronger every week.
It's amazing. Because, when you read up closely all he did, it's just...
Well, we've said before
why
on this
would
show,
you want him in the team?
He's just an ordinary bloke. He's just an ordinary unit on every level, but he can belt the cover off a cricket ball.
Yeah.
So, it will be interesting. As I say, Steve Smith will come back, and nobody, I reckon, will begrudge that. But it'll be very interesting to see what the reaction is if they bring back Warner in a hurry.
Amazing. And then we're getting into racing, Spring Carnival, your expertise will really come to the fore.
Yeah. Well,
are you locked in for any races yet?
Nah, I'm never locked in for any races, but I'm always available for the bird cage. I'm cheaper than a Kardashian.
It's true. You are a lot cheaper than a Kardashian.
But looking forward, the Cox Plate's always a good day. And Winks is running in the Turnbull this week, so...
Against no one else, it looked like.
Yeah.
It's just Winks.
It's just another couple of $100,000 straight to the owners.
It's going to be amazing if Winks ever loses.
Yeah. But it won't be... I don't think it'll be the Cox Plate. If Winks wins this Cox Plate, the 4 in a row, surely they'll just retire undefeated then.
Oh, yeah.
You'd have to... Although, if you were the owners, you would be tempted to go, well...
Just keep going.
It's just,
To retire undefeated, though, has got a nice...
Yeah.
Wish I could say that. Anyway, on that note, it's a grand final edition wrapped up, and we will, of course, be hanging around. We don't stop after the footy because the fun is in the off-season anyway, and we've got plenty of other stuff going on. So we will see you a bit later.